Now we are aware that representations can be reducible or irreducible. If I find irreducible representation, I was using gamma I or gamma j, gamma 1, gamma 2, gamma 3. These are the random numbers I was using. But in particular, how can we symbolize them? How can we label them? For that, we are using Mulliken's notations. What are Mulliken's notations? Which Mulliken notations we are using, that we will see. First aspect about dimension. If dimension is 1, then we can use symbol A or B. Question arises, when A and when B? What is dimension? Dimension is a character for or trace for identity. So below identity in character table, if I am finding 1, then A or B should come. But how to decide A or B? That decision will be taken by next operation. If it is symmetric with principal axis, then we can say A. And if it is not, then we can say B. And symmetricity is represented by a positive number and anti-symmetricity represented by negative number. If dimension is 2, means character or trace of identity is 2, then symbol is capital E. If it is 3, symbol is capital T. We use subscript 1 or 2. If it is a symmetric with respect to subsidiary C2 axis, the axis perpendicular to the principal axis, or molecular plane, or plane passing through the many number of atoms, then we have to use symbol 1. It's A and B that we have studied, A1, A2, B1, B2, such symbols we can use. And if it is anti-symmetric with respect to subsidiary C2 axis, with respect to the plane passing through many number of atoms, then subscript 2. It is our second rule for Mulliken notations. Now third rule about which you are knowing. If the representation is symmetric about center of symmetry, means inversion operation, then we use term small g, gerade. And if it is anti-symmetric, means chi is equal to negative number, then we use the term ungerade, means u. If irreducible representation is symmetric about horizontal plane, then we use a term prime, means dash. And if anti-symmetric, then double prime, means double dash. So these are the few notations which are needed this year. Such many other notations are there. Considering the scope of the syllabus and applicability, this much Mulliken's notations are sufficient for you. Let us see where are they used so that the terminology of the Mulliken's notation will be clear to you. This is the first part of Mulliken notation where dimension aspect is covered. If dimension of irreducible representation is 1, then symbol we use is A or B. When to use A? If that representation is symmetric about principal axis of rotation, then A. And if it is anti-symmetric, then B. If dimension is 2, then symbol is E. If it is 3, then symbol is T. If the irreducible representation is symmetric about subsidiary C2 axis, the axis which is perpendicular to the principal axis, or is symmetric about the molecular plane, then we will represent it by subscript 1 or else subscript 2. If the representation is symmetric with respect to center of inversion, then representation is by G. If it is antisymmetric, then it is to be represented by small u. If representation is symmetric with respect to the horizontal plane, then symbol will be prime, is dash. And if antisymmetric, then double prime, double dash. See the first irreducible representation for point group C2V. Here dimension is 1. So I have to use symbol A or B. It is symmetric about principal axis C2. Therefore certainly A. Then next operation, molecular plane, it is symmetric. Therefore subscript 1. Therefore first irreducible representation is denoted by term A1. See the next, dimension 1, symmetric about principal axis, therefore A, antisymmetric about molecular plane, therefore 2. See the third representation, dimension 1, so A or B, antisymmetric about the principal axis, therefore B, symmetric about the molecular plane, therefore B1. Now see the last representation, dimension 1, so A or B, antisymmetric about principal axis, therefore B, antisymmetric about the molecular plane, therefore B2. See the first representation for C3 point group. Dimension is 1, so I would use term A or B. But see symmetric about principal axis C3, therefore A. Now next operation, that's the vertical plane. There is no alternative. Symmetric, therefore A1. Next irreducible representation, dimension 1, so A or B. Symmetric about the principal axis, that's a C3, therefore A, and is antisymmetric for the plane, therefore A2. Now third representation, dimension is 2, therefore representation is capital E. It's a tetrahedral point group, a good example to learn Mulliken notation. Total 5 irreducible representations are there. First irreducible representation is a dimension 1. So I have to use symbol A or B. But since it is symmetric about the principal axis C3, I have to use symbol A. Same is the case for second irreducible representation. There also I have to use symbol A. Main purpose to use subscript 1, 2, 3 and so on is to distinguish such common irreducible representation. Now, in order to distinguish these A's of first irreducible representation and second irreducible representation, we need to go to the next operation. Next operation is the C2. But C2 can't distinguish this A. After C2, S4 is there and S4 can distinguish because first representation is symmetric for S4, therefore A1, and second representation is antisymmetric, therefore A2. Now see the third irreducible representation. Dimension is 2 and it is only 1, so simply E is sufficient. See the fourth irreducible representation. Dimension is 3, so I have to use capital T. By the way, fifth irreducible representation also has dimension 3, so there also I have to use capital T. Now distinguishing between them is important. Now how can I distinguish? Let us go to the next operation. That's the C3. It can't distinguish. C2. It can't distinguish. S4. Yes. The fourth representation is symmetric about S4 and fifth one is not. Therefore I can distinguish those T. Fourth one is T1 and fifth one is T2. It's actually the main purpose of Mulliken notation to distinguish irreducible representations. About subscript, variation may possible, but about terms 1 dimension, 2 dimension, 3 dimension, there no variation will be there. This is a good example where you will understand how we use the subscripts 1, 2, 3 and so on. So such multiple subscripts are necessary only for distinguishing the main terms, that's A, B, capital E or capital T. First you understand the operations possible for the D2H point group. 8 operations are possible. It is an abelian point group. Identity is the first operation and then C2, 3 operations are there. From mathematics point of view, all 3 are equivalent. Next, center of inversion. Then 3 planes are there. Sigma xy, sigma xz and sigma yz. It depends which principal axis we consider. Accordingly, the planes will be horizontal or vertical. Let us consider possibility point of view. If 3 axes are there and if the representation is symmetric about 2, then I have to consider symmetric about axis. If it is antisymmetric for 2 at least, then it will be the antisymmetric for the axis. Because I have to choose no A or B. If symmetric about axis, then A. If antisymmetric, then B. See the first irreducible representation. Dimension is 1. It means A or B. There for C2 all were plus 1. So symmetric about all 3 axes. So beyond doubt it is a capital A. See the second irreducible representation. Dimension 1. So A or B. It is symmetric about only one axis. But for other 2 axes it is antisymmetric. So majoritically it is antisymmetric. Therefore symbol capital B. Similarly, for third irreducible representation, fourth irreducible representation, you will find capital B as a symbol. For fifth irreducible representation, again, for all 3 axes, I am getting symmetricity. Therefore, capital A. For a sixth irreducible representation symbol, dimension is 1, so A or B. Out of the 3 axes, for 2 axes, that representation is antisymmetric. Therefore, capital B. Likewise, 7th and 8th irreducible representation, you will understand. So, only one task of labeling A and B we completed. About A, if you see, there are only 2 A's are there. And in this point group, center of inversion is there. First A, where it is symmetric about center of inversion. And second A, that's our fifth irreducible representation, is antisymmetric. So for symmetric, which symbol I have to use? G. And for antisymmetric, U. So here distinguishing done. So there is no need of subscript 1 and 2. But it is not the case for B. In case of B, see, first 3 B's are there. Those are symmetric about center of inversion. So I have to use symbol G. And last 3 B's are there which are antisymmetric about center of inversion, where I have to use symbol U. So with B and G, 3 irreducible representations are there. Likewise, with B and U, Three irreducible representations are there. Here we need subscripts. Now, how to choose subscript? We have to choose the next operation for which whether it is a symmetric or not. Now, three operations are there. To distinguish them, I need three such operations. The planes are there which can distinguish. Now, see the second irreducible representation. It is symmetric about first plane, therefore B1. Third irreducible representation. Symmetric about second plane, therefore B2. Fourth irreducible representation. Symmetric about third plane, therefore B3. Okay, it is a good idea that we got because distinguishing irreducible representation, that is important. If you see this last representation, you are finding out of the three planes, only one plane is antisymmetric. So I can use the logic of antisymmetricity. Sixth irreducible representation, that's the first B in the second half, is antisymmetric for first plane, therefore B1. Now seventh irreducible representation is antisymmetric for second plane, therefore B2. And last irreducible representation, antisymmetric for third plane, therefore B3. After this A1, A2, A3 or B1, B2, B3, we can use the terms G or U. Question for homework. In tetrahedral point group, two three-dimensional representations are there. So it's a bit natural. I have to use the term capital T. But in order to distinguish those two capital T's, I am taking help of one operation. Which operation by which I can distinguish these two three-dimensional representation? Write just name of that operation by which I am distinguishing T. For one I am saying T1 and for other I am saying T2. I hope you got the question. I want the operation by which we are distinguishing three-dimensional representations in tetrahedral point group. I am waiting for your answer.